Welcome to your online coffee break, where we discuss bite-sized topics that inspire, educate, and entertain. Here's your host, a software innovator, award-winning marketer, and astronomy and space buff, Chuck Fields.
Hello, thanks for joining me today for your online coffee break. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce my special guest, Jesse Colin Young of the Youngbloods. Jesse joins us by phone today to discuss his incredible career as well as his recent solo album Dreamers, which was released last year. Now, for you coffee lovers out there, Jesse and his wife own an organic coffee farm in Hawaii, and they're offering up some special brews, including morning blends and the Get Together 50th Anniversary Edition on their website at jessecolinyoung.com. It's delicious, so be sure to check it out.
At Why Hunger, we don't just ask why. We find solutions to hunger that transform, last, and tackle urgent human needs. Nutritious food is a human right, and hunger is solvable. That's why we work with grassroots organizations and social movements across the globe to ensure everyone has access to nutritious food in efforts to end hunger for good. For more information, visit www.whyhunger.org.
Online coffee break.
Jesse, you've had this amazing, incredible career that's still going strong. Now, I understand that you actually grew up in Queens, New York City, and I was just wondering, can you tell our audience what inspired you to get started in music?
Family, really. My dad was a piano player, classical mostly, but he played a lot of stuff for us to sing around the piano. My mom had a beautiful voice. And when I was little, before I was 10, there was no TV in our house. So we entertained ourselves singing together. And, when Dad'd come home from work, sometimes he'd sit down and play classical music for a while, unwind. He's an accountant. And then maybe it was a weekend or maybe it was a boring night. I don't know. And we'd just get together and sing. And my poor mother has perfect pitch. So she was always saying to my father over his shoulder, here, my sister's lovely voice too, 4 years older than me, Diane. And she would lean over his shoulder, his name was Fred, and said, Fred, that was a B flat, not a B natural.
Oh, wow.
So, he's sight reading all these, or playing from memory, all these, usually sight reading all these camp songs and Harvard fight songs.
Oh, wow.
He taught me all of those, and I actually probably made my debut when I was 8. He took me to his Harvard reunion in New York. I guess the Harvard Club. I guess maybe they couldn't get a babysitter, or maybe they didn't like babysitters. I don't remember much babysitting. So there I was. Life begins at 50 for the class of 25. And when they found out that I knew some of these songs, they had an accordion player who I guess probably made his living memorizing every college's fight songs. And
nice.
so they put me up on a cocktail table, and I sang, ripped off, 6 or 8. With crimson and something flashing mid the strains of victory. Old Eli's hopes we are dashing into pure obscurity.
Awesome.
It stuck with me.
See, I love hearing how it inspired you. And what really surprised me, Jesse, about just reading more about your background is even before you joined the Youngbloods, you'd actually sort of became a successful folk singer. You released 2 LPs, Soul of a City Boy and Youngblood. Where's Youngblood come from?
Where's Youngblood come from? Well, they're just thinking of something to go with my name for the album.
I love it. It works.
Instead of Soul of a City Boy, it's Youngblood. Probably Bobby Scott thought it up.
Okay, very nice.
And it was a fairly common term in New York among musicians, the Youngbloods. The ones coming up.
I always wondered where that came from. That makes sense because, I had a feeling it had something to do with your name, of course, but I just thought it was kind of cool that you had the album called Youngblood and then you called your band the Youngbloods. See, I would like to ask you about Get Together. I mean, And it's been over 50 years already since it hit number one, but I just want to share just some of the lyrics. I mean, the main chorus, come on people now, smile on your brother, everybody get together, try to love one another right now. Those words are just so powerful even today. They're so cool. Can you believe it's been 50 years? That's incredible.
Yeah, it went by like a flash. Have you heard the new one?
Yeah, I was going to say, the one that you did with Steve Miller, how did that come about?
Right.
That was just incredible.
Well, I was touring with a band in 2017, my son Tristan, and from Berklee College of Music. And I went to his, Connie and I, my wife, went to his senior recital. And I just sat there about 5 rows back. They're done during classes, so kids come in and out. I could sit wherever I wanted to, and I got right in the middle there, about 10 rows back, and just listened to them. And there were no vocals. It was instrumental, quintet, sextet, 2 keyboard players, bass and drums, guitar. And, some of it was tunes that I knew.
Yeah.
They did a beautiful version of Blackbird. It was fusion. Great drummer, and everybody was so good. I had quit the road, 6 years before that. I was too sick with Lyme disease.
Yeah, that had to be something horrible to go through, but I thought it was neat how Tristan, hearing that just inspired you.
Yeah, it just blew me away. I just ran backstage and said, I want a band like this too. He said, come on, Dad, you're retired. And I had to ask him several times. He said, come on, Dad, it's a lot of work. You don't want to do that, do you? And yes, I did. And we had an invite. I said, well, we have an invite to South by Southwest. And that actually came to us through the Australian guy who loves our coffee. And he does all of the picking of the bands for that part of the Pacific. Is at the South Pacific, which includes Hawaii, which he always considered me once. Of course, we did live there on the farm for 12 years, so he considered me a Hawaiian artist. So inside of his South Pacific, New Zealand, Australia, and Hawaii. So, and he had always said to Connie, "You think Jesse?" And she said, "He's not playing; he's too sick." So that year, I was getting better, and Connie and I started writing together, and we wrote a song called Cast a Stone.
I love that song. Love it. I was wondering if you could just tell our audience a little bit more about how did you come up with Cast a Stone together? That's a brilliant song.
They were filming the movie in Boston that became Boston Strong, about the bombing at Marathon. And T was living 3 blocks from the finish line, and a lot of his friends, and all these kids in the band were in school there at that time. So somehow the casting director got Connie's number and said, "Hey, do you think any of the kids, it'll be $250 for a day. Do you think any of the kids, would your son like to go?" And we said, "No, he's buried. He has 6 hours of homework a night. He doesn't have a day to spare." So they said, "What?" And then she said, "Well, we have this song, but the lyrics are really stupid." So you think Jesse could write some lyrics to it, or, really the song's pretty stupid. Do you think you guys would write a song about the bombing? And so Connie said, "Well, I'll ask him. We'll think about it." Next morning I woke up. Connie'd been up since 5. She had, a page of lyrics.
Really?
3 verses, yes. And I dug into it. There it was. It was Boston. Actually, my folks are from that area, the Irish and Scottish, all of them. So I know Celtic music, and I just felt like this is a Celtic thing, and often Celtic songs are about horrific experiences. So
right.
Our experience, the first verse is about us hearing, we don't say that, we heard on NPR, they said, a bomb went off in Boston. That's all the information we have. So we're on our way driving home, and I'm thinking, oh my God. So we start calling T. No, we can't get through. And it turns out they shut the cell towers down because they were afraid there were more bombs. So we get home and it's on TV, and we still can't get through and call and talk to him. So I'm sure there was, there's so many students, 250,000 students in Boston. And so that makes, at least 1 million parents and 2 million or whatever. They're all trying to call.
A lot of worry going on, yep.
So that's,
That's the first verse, is about that experience, about being witness to evil miles and miles from the fray. We're seeing it on TV, and we're wondering, is our son okay? Did he wander down to the finish line? Because it's so close to his house, just because he was bored or wanted to see her. So he was okay.
See, I think that's wonderful. But I mean, all your songs on Dreamers are just incredible. I mean, they all reach different issues, and I just think they're all so powerful and they're all so good. I mean, it's a great album.
Thank you. Yeah, I love making it.
Well, I think it's neat that your son helped inspire you to do it. I got a kick out of that.
The kids, all in their 20s, loved to get together, and they sang it and played it so beautifully. I thought, we didn't do any old music. We only did new music on Dreamers. And I thought, I want a recorded version of Get Together, of us doing it. So the studio had a cancellation, and they were open. We went in and put down Get Together. And so it sat around, maybe a year and a half. And I think summertime came around, and I mentioned it. Steve Miller had moved to New York, and for a while he was rebuilding a townhouse. And then he had moved into it, I guess. And yeah, I think we were there eating dinner, and tea was with us. And I mentioned it to him. I said, I've got this beautiful track of Get Together, and if there comes a point that somebody wants to put it out, would you want to play on it? And he said, very simply, I'm in.
That's awesome.
But last fall, I thought, we need Get Together. And I got Get Together. So I started working on it, and I redid my vocals, which needed it, and my acoustic guitar. And then Steve was coming off the road from his whole summer thing. And I called him. I said, I'm doing the Get Together thing, man. So we did it. We got in the studio on an afternoon, and Steve came in and did the singing first. And because I wanted him, he said, you sure you want me to sing on this? I said, yes, come on. And so he did the harmonies first, because, like me, he's pretty much a lead singer. Other people do the harmonies. So he did a great job and worked hard at it. And then we went to guitar, and he played and took it he just added there's some rhythm guitar buried in there that's kind of distorted, but only slightly. That's really added some grit. And then he played beautiful solo.
Oh, it turned out fantastic. It is beautiful. I'm so glad that you redid it. I just think the story is neat. And, having Steve Miller be a part of that too, it's just wonderful. What's next for you? What's coming up for you this fall?
I am almost finished with BMG asked me to do a solo album.
Really?
Because of, have you seen any of the One Song at a Time on Facebook?
I see that now. Jesse Colin Young, Euphoria, One Song at a Time.
It gave birth to this album. I haven't had my final listen, but I have just finished 21 acoustic solo songs. I don't know. There's a lot of magic there.
Jesse, it has been an honor speaking with you. Thanks so much for taking time to join me today. Really do appreciate it.
Oh, man. Our pleasure.
Online coffee break.
Well, I really enjoyed my conversation with Jesse today, and I'm loving his music from the album Dreamers. Also love his delicious coffee. If you'd like to learn more, just check out their website, jessecolinyoung.com. I want to thank Jesse for joining me today. I want to thank you for joining us as well. And as usual, we'd appreciate it if you'd share this episode with a friend. If you're watching on YouTube, if you give us a thumbs up, we'd appreciate it. And if you give us a good rating on whatever podcast application you're listening on, we'd appreciate that too. Either way, thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. God bless.